In this video, strategies about the toughest questions in the entire IELTS reading test, that is matching headings, will be discussed. And I'll tell you everything, starting from reading the paragraph to selecting the right option. But before we dive into the video, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, share it with those who need it, subscribe and press the bell icon. So we're going to start with the first thing to do, which is reading the paragraph first and then the options. The first question here is, should we do matching heading questions in the beginning or at the last? I would advise you to do them at the last, because when you are done with all of the rest questions, you get a general understanding of what the passage is about. And this way it will be easy for you to identify the main idea of each paragraph. Plus, these type of questions are quite time consuming. So as soon as you see those matching heading questions, the first thing you should do is ignore all of those bullet points. Don't read them. Immediately come to the paragraph and start reading it. And read it carefully. Don't just run your eyes over it. You need to read it, understand it, and then get the main idea. What is the main idea of this paragraph? This should be the first question in your mind. And after you get the main idea, you should write it in your own words, in your mind, not on the paper. You don't have that much time. You derive your own heading, then you read the options and compare that heading with every single option. This way you will find the answer quickly. But many test takers say that the most difficult part is that a single paragraph seems to have two options. Like, we read the paragraph, we derived the idea, and then we're trying to compare it. And there are two options that seem to be alike. That is very common. And here you should try to distinguish between those two options. What's the difference between them? And you do so by underlining some words in those two options that will help you differentiate between them. And once you differentiate between them, you go back to the paragraph and you read it. Read it carefully and you will find that there is one sentence, one specific sentence that will make the difference between these two options even more clearer. And this way you can identify the right option. However, let's say that you differentiated between these two options and you still can't find the answer. Here you need to pay attention towards synonyms. Actually, this is a quite common mistake made by many people, that they think the option answers should have exactly the same wording as in the passage. No, it's always paraphrased. The option answers will always be paraphrased, and once you pay attention, look closely towards the words in the paragraph, you will find that those words were used, the synonyms were used, and this way finding the answer will become very easy for you. Finally, let's consider the worst case scenario. That is, you can't get an answer for a particular question. Here you shouldn't get stuck. Just move on and solve the other matching heading questions. Automatically, there will be one option left. You join that option with the remaining paragraph. And obviously, that will be the answer. Now that we're done with these tips, we'll solve some matching heading questions. We'll start with this paragraph. Organization is a big business. Whether it is of our lives, all those inboxes and calendars, or how companies are structured, a multi-billion-dollar company helps to meet this need. We have more strategies for time management, project management, and self-organization than at any other time in human history. We are told we ought to organize our company, our home life, our week, our day, and even our sleep, all as a means to becoming more productive. Every week, countless seminars and workshops take place around the world to tell a praying public that they ought to structure their lives in order to achieve this. This rhetoric has also crept in the thinking of business leaders and entrepreneurs, much to the delight of self-proclaimed perfectionists with the need to get everything right. The number of business schools and graduates has massively increased over the past 50 years, essentially teaching people how to organize well. Now, after we've read this passage, we need to know what's the main idea. So we have to read that main idea in our own words. After reading all of this, I believe that the idea is about strategies that people follow for productivity. Because here we are told that we ought to do this, organize company to be more productive, and this thinking also crept everywhere. So it's about a thinking that people follow for productivity. And now this is my derived heading. I'm not going to write it because I don't have that much time. It's in my mind, and I'm going to compare it with every bullet point. Number one, complaints about the impact of a certain approach. No, there's nothing about the complaints. Fundamental beliefs that are incorrect. No incorrect beliefs have been mentioned. Number three, early recommendations concerning business activities. Now, recommendations have been given concerning business activities, so this can be considered. Number four, organizations that put a new approach into practice. Nothing but organizations is mentioned. And talking about number three, we will consider it, but we won't say that it's correct because we'll be reading the next options too. Number five, companies that have suffered from changing their approach. No. Number six, what people are expected to do. This also can be considered as here it is mentioned. We are told that we ought to organize our company, home, weekday, everything to be more productive. So this can be also considered. Number seven, how to achieve outcomes that are currently impossible. Nothing about impossible is mentioned, nor about outcomes. Neither approach guarantees continuous improvement. In order for neither to be here, there must be at least two approaches discussed, but only one is discussed, so it can't be it. Evidence that a certain approach can have more disadvantages than advantages. Nothing about evidence is mentioned, neither disadvantages nor advantages. So we're stuck between 3 and 6. Now we have to differentiate between these two options. If you look at 3, early recommendation is the major word. It's the major difference. Early. And if you look in this paragraph, nothing about early is mentioned. Not a single time is mentioned, just over the past 50 years. And it's about number of business school has increased. It's not about any recommendation. Early recommendation isn't mentioned. Not of 10th century, 20th century, nothing. But if you look at 6, people are expected to do, this is mentioned, we are taught that we ought to do this, that in order to be more productive. So number 6 is a more suitable option. And the answer is number 6. Moving on to the second paragraph. Ironically, however, the number of businesses that fail has also increased. Work-related stress has increased. A large proportion of workers from all demographics claim to be dissatisfied with the way their work is structured and the way they are managed. This begs the question, what has gone wrong? Why is it that on paper the drive for organization seems a sure shot for increasing productivity, but in reality falls well short of what is expected? Now, my heading here in my mind would be, what's wrong with this approach? The approach that we just discussed previously, it's something wrong is being discussed in this body paragraph. Like, what's wrong? So, my heading will be, what's wrong with this approach? That's the main idea. We'll compare my heading with the options. Complaints about the impact of an approach. Yes, this complaining and this approach. So this can be the answer, but we'll read the rest also. Fundamental beliefs that are incorrect. No, no beliefs are incorrect. Nothing is mentioned. Early recommendations. No, nothing about early recommendation. Organizations that put a new approach. Nothing about organizations. Companies that have suffered from changing their approach. No companies have been discussed. Sixth is done. Seventh, how to achieve outcomes that are impossible. No, nothing about outcomes and impossible. Neither approach guarantees continuous improvement. Now, in order for neither to understand here, at least two approaches must be discussed. But only one approach is discussed in this paragraph, so it won't be the answer. Evidence that a certain approach can have more disadvantages than advantages. Disadvantages is discussed, but advantages is not. So the only option valid here is the number 1. If you got both of the answers correct to these matching heading questions, then very good. You improved in the matching heading questions. And I hope that this video helped you. Moreover, I and my father teach online as well as physical classes. So if anybody is interested, here is our number. You can contact us here. Take care. Allah Hafiz.